today. Anthony and Nick. Anthony and Nick, the floor is yours, guys. Thanks so much for having this great program. Anthony, Nick, floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Jim, and welcome back, everybody, to Breakfast Links. Hope everyone survived Moscow on the San Gabriel last week. I'd like to start out by introducing our platinum members. They are—
What'd you say? You need me to—
Cook Walden Davis Funeral Home, City of Georgetown, Georgetown Behavioral Health Institute, Lorem Technologies Incorporated, formerly known as Georgetown Rail Equipment Company, Radiation Detection Company, St. David's Georgetown Hospital, and the Wesleyan. And we're going to have our sponsor presentation by Insperity. Evelyn, are you on?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, you've got 5 minutes to tell us all about Insperity.
Okay, I'd be happy to. Thank you so much. I'm going to share a couple of slides, and I just want to see, are we sharing? All right, can everyone see the slide?
Not yet.
Okay, one moment.
We got faith in you, Evelyn. You'll get it.
Thank you. I see what I did here. Okay, we're going.
We see your screen.
Okay, perfect. Is that good?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Okay, well, thank you so much. And sorry to waste those few minutes on trying to get that together. But I just want to, say again, good morning to everybody. And I'm pleased to introduce this incredible company called Insperity. Insperity is a Texas-based company, 35 years old, and we are human resource service providers. We understand that it's the people at the core of every business that move the business forward. And it's the people that are the focus in our human-centered, partnership-driven relationship with our clients and our prospects. Our icon, as you can see over on the left, it matches the heart and the personality of Insperity. The compass symbolizes our resolve to help clients navigate the business landscape and achieve greater success. Expanding lines represent momentum and growth that occur when people are valued at the heart of the organization. And the compass reflects the Insperity spirit and guides towards excellence in all we do. This past year, as everyone knows, has been really tough. We've been through a variety of traumatic experiences that changed our world dramatically. With each and every event, I was so proud to see Insperity's dedicated and talented people rise to the occasion to help clients. We pivoted immediately to remote work, and not missing a beat, we supported and met the intense needs of our clients and their employees and families. We put the needs of our clients ahead of our own and helping them address the emotional needs of their employees experiencing isolation from a stay-at-home order. And we also provided diversity, equity, and inclusion support in the midst of all the social unrest. We maintained high standards and pursued excellence, delivering HR services despite challenging conditions. It's our stated mission to help businesses succeed so communities prosper. So what is it like to partner with Insperity? Insperity takes on the responsibility for benefits, plan sponsorship and administration, payroll and HR administration, workers' compensation coverage and administration, and claims resolution. HR-related government compliance assistance is also included, and an HR service team of people that work shoulder to shoulder with you. And it's your responsibility as the business owner to remain the same, to manage and grow your business, to manage change, and to align people around your company's mission and vision. So Insperity takes on the routine HR tasks so you don't have to, giving you back time to focus on your business. You will have a team of HR experts, professionals by your side, plus award-winning HR technology that'll save you time. When business owners call us, recently we've been kind of looking at all this data, and we asked them, what is your interest in looking at Insperity? And the top 5 responses are, they're dealing with remote work right now, and they're moving away from bricks and mortar, and they're going to remain 100% work from home. So they're dealing with many multi-state compliance issues because employees can, move pretty much to whatever state they wish. They're also looking at benefits and how that impacts those people moving out of state. HR compliance, it's huge, mainly around COVID and whether or not it's legal to mandate employees to take the vaccine, questions like that and many others. More and more prospects are also just looking for off-site HR support and help. And then as well, the diversity and inclusion, they're looking for training classes around that. So as a small and medium-sized business owner, we know that you face many obstacles. You're the captain of your own ship and all the responsibility falls on you. So the common thread through every stage in your business life cycle is that people make the difference. People, that's your guiding light, your North Star that will help you propel towards success in accomplishing your business goals. And so we're here to help you. We're here to help you face the business challenges with confidence, and we know we can do it. Thank you.
Evelyn, thank you so much. Folks, we couldn't do what we do at the Chamber without our wonderful sponsors. Evelyn, thank you again. Nick?
You're welcome.
Wonderful. We have a great speaker this morning, and in the interest of preventing distractions, we are going to mute everyone and turn off the chat function during the presentation. Our speaker this morning was elected the Texas Comptroller of Public Accounts in November 2014. He's a sixth-generation Texan who grew up farming land that has been in his family since the mid-1800s. He's a 1993 graduate from Texas A&M University, and he earned his law degree from St. Mary's University. He has served in the Texas legislature, where he worked on issues including public education, transportation, tax reform, government transparency, Second Amendment rights, water issues, and tort reform. As Comptroller, our speaker is the Chief Finance Officer for the world's 9th largest economy. He emerged as a passionate advocate for conservative financial management and government transparency, who has focused on creating more efficient and customer-oriented agency. He founded the state's Transparency Stars program, pushed for smarter ways of investing our rainy day fund to protect it for future generations, and guided the formation of the nation's first ever state-administered precious metals depository. Our speaker's upbringing taught him the core values of hard work, honesty, and integrity, the same values he and his wife Dara worked to instill in their 3 young children. Without further ado, it is my pleasure to welcome Comptroller Glenn Hegar to the Georgetown Chamber this morning. Welcome, sir.
Thanks, Nicholas. Good to be with everybody today. Wish we were in person, but so is the continuation of 2020 here in 2021. And I also hope that everybody stayed warm through most of last week and hopefully did not have too many busted pipes or water damage or other issues. What a week, which we'll talk a little bit about here in just a second. But mostly what I was asked, kind of give you an update on where we see the state economy. So first of all, many of you may recall, may not, so I'll just kind of brief. As the Comptroller's office, we have about 3,000 employees, 26 divisions, and roughly I've got 3 constitutional duties. And that means the money that comes into the state treasury, we account for all the dollars, we make sure all the expenditures are made, the checks, the 14 million checks that are processed, the $126 billion state budget, make sure all the accounting and the fiscal matters are in order. Also, the state tax collector. So that's the one that always makes me nervous, but then, since this is a virtual setting, I don't have to be quite as nervous as if we were in person today. And then thirdly, the time that I spend a lot of my time on is I'm also what's called the Chief Financial Officer for the state. And so what that really means is the revenue estimator is the day before a legislative session. My job and my team's job is to tell the legislature how much money we think will come in the state treasury as they are working on the new 2-year state budget. So just to kind of brief on that, as the legislature's in town, they are in session, they go through session till the beginning of June. And the one and only thing that they have to do no matter what is pass a new 2-year state budget. That 2-year state budget starts in September of this year. And then, as most of you know, runs for the next 2 years. So the point being is, if we're forecasting those revenues, that crystal ball always has a lot of uncertainty in it. You know, Texas as a state is pretty remarkable to know. All 12 economic regions of the state combined, the 254 counties, makes up the 9th largest economy in the entire world. Think about that. Texas is the 9th largest economy in the entire world. Every day when you wake up for the next week, think about also, and you've seen this growth in Williamson County and Georgetown area and surrounding areas, that every morning when you wake up, there's roughly another 1,000 people that call Texas home every single day. I mean, think about that as you wake up every single morning, there's another 1,000 people. So you wonder why there's more crowded folks on the streets. Now, of course, the last year has changed that dynamic with so many people teleworking and kind of figuring out what is going to be the new norm once we get past COVID. But the fact is Texas has been a growing economy, has been outpacing the national average almost every year. I make one point continually that we are about 19% of all the exports out of the United States come out of Texas. And you go, that seems like a lot. What does that really mean? Where do we rank? Well, what that means is we rank as the #1 exporting state out of all 50 states in the nation. We are larger than the #2 and the #3, California and the state of Washington combined. And so I make that point because our economy is tied to the global economy, and therefore things that happen in other countries can have ripple effects into our economy. And so in the last year, in all the speeches that I've been given, and I've given a few virtually, let's say, a few in person, but a lot virtually, which has also told me that, usually I give a lot of speeches, travel around the state, but the guy that counts the money, pays the bills, monitors the state economy has been a little bit more in demand when there's uncertainty in the economy than when the economy is doing well. And I use that word uncertainty quite a bit. Especially in this last year. And as we got into March of last year with two headwinds here in Texas, one being lower oil prices, two, the COVID pandemic, a significant contraction in the economy there in the months of March and April, in parts of May, significant contraction. Unemployment went from 3.4%, which was a historic low, all the way up to 13%. Now that has come back down into the 7% range. Which is substantially better. However, if you look at the overall economy, the fact is if it's at the hotel, leisure, hospitality industries, vacation areas, they've been substantially impacted as people are limiting their travel and not moving around. My team started looking at a lot of different data points. We always look at data points, but some of the factors that we consider lag, such as sales tax, GDP growth, employment numbers. So we were looking at what we call non-traditional economic indicators. And one of the points that I make frequently is I had no clue that we had about 2.3 million people fly around the United States in a given day in airplanes here in our country. Yet at the trough of when no one was moving around, we had literally only 90,000 people in an airplane on certain days there in the beginning of April. That has increased to about 1 million. And so that's a significant improvement, but that's still substantially less than the 2.3 million. And I point that out just to make the point that people's behaviors of certain industries are substantially impacted. However, if you had a pool construction business, or if you were, in building equipment for home workout equipment, outdoor activities, significant amount of demand for those types of goods and services. In the months of May and June, it was pretty substantial that people doing home improvement projects, again, buying telecommunication equipment to work from home, buying workout equipment, outdoor equipment, people spent in and around their homes in the May and June of last year, more than what they did in those same 2 months in May and June of 2019 by the number of $7.3 billion. So, which is a substantial amount of money that people shifted into certain areas that they were spending. Now, last summer, as all revenue departments were trying to figure out what did this mean, we knew there was going to be a recession, how deep, how wide, how long. We gave a revised forecast to the legislature. However, thankfully, revenue numbers have been better than we anticipated. And so when I gave my forecast to the legislature the day before session, I'd been scripting out that it had improved, while some revenue streams into the state treasury are still down double digits, such as severance tax collections, oil and gas, that is, as well as hotel occupancy taxes, also mixed beverage tax collections, because people are not going to restaurants and bars. They may be driving through more so than they're going into the actual buildings than what they used to be. And so those revenue streams are still down double digits. But for the state treasury, overall, all revenue streams are important, but sales tax is about 60% of all tax collections that we bring in the treasury. And so I make that point because sales tax really determines the health of the treasury much more than other revenue streams. Like at the great financial crisis back in 2007, we were down about 10% for 14 months. However, this time we've been down about 5%. And so that's helped our picture substantially from before. Also, the legislature last session, I'd asked them to pass 2 pieces of legislation in response to a U.S. Supreme Court decision and what was called the Wayfair decision. And in essence, what that meant from a fairness perspective, if you and I go to the local corner go around the store to buy something at the local retailer, we pay sales tax. However, if we bought it online, it may get collected, it may not get collected. Well, to me, that's a competitive disadvantage for the stores in our communities, because those out-of-state stores are able to sell directly to us at a cheaper price. So from that fairness perspective, we wanted to make sure what we call marketplace providers, those that have a platform that businesses utilize to sell to us, collect and remit sales tax, as well as what we call remote sellers who sell directly. And I bring all this up because we had originally estimated that it'd be about $500 million to the state treasury in a 12-month period. However, there were a lot more sales on internets than we had anticipated. There are a lot more marketplace providers. You can think of some of the top big ones, but there's over 500 that are registered with us. So substantially more presence in that area than we thought. And then number two, how many more people are buying things online than they were just a year ago? How many more packages do you have coming to your doorfront than you did a year ago? And so instead, in that first 12 months, instead of being $500 million, it was $1.3 billion. And in the last 15 months, that means local governments have received almost another $500 million in sales tax. So that's improved the treasury. You and I's consumption has been better than we had anticipated. And so the trajectory of the economy is continuing to improve. But I also mentioned to the legislature over and over, and I say this in all our speeches, the numbers that we provided the legislature were confident in. However, with that being said, there's wide potential for variation from that, more now than ever before. In part, there's people have more savings right now than we've had before. And so therefore, depending on the vaccine rollout, depending on people's desire to engage in the economy, we've seen a lot of information last year that even without government mandated shutdowns, people were reluctant to engage in the economy out of concern and fear. So as those subside, there's potential the economy could significantly outperform what we've provided the legislature just last month. Yet on the other side, if the vaccine does not roll out, does not go as well, consumer confidence does not improve, if variants of COVID or actually the vaccine is not effective or as effective to those new variants, say, for example, we have a successful rollout here in Texas, the United States, but there's still the rest of the world, and we're very tied to the rest of the world. So therefore, those things could continue to be drags on the economy, and that's why there's still those uncertainties that are out there. But if you take anything away from this, just know that Texas was an attractant as a state to do business a year ago before COVID. However, still today, it's still an attractant to do business as a state. We see businesses still wanting to relocate to Texas, to move their headquarters to Texas. So that continues. We think that obviously downtown centers are going to be redefined to some degree. As in my office, I said very early on, of the 3,000 people that go into the office, we will never go back to what we were doing before we went to teleworking. However, that doesn't mean we are not going to be doing what we're doing today, continuing to telework at this level. There has to be somewhere in between. And part of my point is, I'm sitting here, I can see about 4 or 5 faces, and I tell, people all the time, words and communication are really important, but part of that communication is body language. And so there's a whole lot of other people that I can't see your faces. I have no clue if you've fallen asleep. I don't know if you're not paying attention anymore. Do I need to say a joke? Do I need to try to bring people back into the speech? I have no idea. And so, I gave a live speech the other day, which is much more natural because you can kind of gauge people's reactions. They may not be speaking to you because they're listening, but you can kind of read the audience, read where people are at. And so, while this format is nice because I can be in Georgetown, here in a few minutes, I'm going to be somewhere else. I'm all across the state in just a few hours. Normally I couldn't do that, but also the point is for team building, for project development, you really need that in-person atmosphere. And so, as we're continuing to redefine, I do think that Texas is poised to continue to grow. There's a demand to be here. However, some other major cities in this nation, such as LA, New York, Chicago, they are going to have a redefining of their downtown centers. So we think that Texas is going to continue to grow, but there will obviously continue to be some disruptions in the economy. Now, let's also talk about last week. So last week was an unprecedented winter blizzard here in the state of Texas. However, with that being said, having power outages that last for hours is not acceptable. As you know, the legislature had committee hearings yesterday. The governor has made this issue an emergency item. I've done a lot of interviews because when I was in the state Senate in 2011, I was chair of what's called the Sunset Commission, and we were over part of those agencies under my purview was the PUC, which probably up until the last week, y'all may have never heard that acronym, the Public Utility Commission. I can guarantee up until last week, the vast majority of you have never heard the acronym ERCOT, much less even to know what that stands for, Electric Reliability Council of Texas. Now you might actually have a clue of what those are, unfortunately from last week, but they were under my purview for review. So as a result, I was very involved with them, and I carried some legislation to require the regulatory agency, PUC, to look at weatherization reports, make recommendations, and people have been asking me a lot about that legislation, where I think we're at. I wrote an op-ed as a result for the Dallas Morning News to say, unfortunately, I think we're in no better position. We're in worse position because back then we had rolling blackouts, yet substantially different then from now is that winter storm impacted a little over 50 counties. This one impacted 254 counties. So this was much more severe, but that doesn't have an excuse where people go without electricity for days on end. Or where I stay at in Austin, thankfully I wasn't there, our building, I mean, it was out of power for 84 hours, and so therefore an event like that, when you have busted pipes, that's not necessarily your fault. In other words, you couldn't have wrapped those pipes any better. You couldn't have done anything else to improve the situation. And so, we have to be very mindful to look at this very complex issue is my point. It's not just about winterization. There's a lot of other things that need to be focused on and to be addressed. And so, Texas has a very different energy portfolio in our electric grid than we did 10 years ago. And I think that it's very important that as we go through time, you can't look at this as a one snap today. Oh, these are the solutions. And then it's off on the shelf, and don't look at it another 5 or 10 years, because our electric grid's going to change. Society's going to become more complex. And so therefore, this is something that we're going to have to continue to do. And I've mentioned over a few different times that last week, Texas has been seen by everybody as a place for economic opportunity. Same as my family's been here since the 1840s. Why did we move here originally? For an economic opportunity. Same reason that people come here today. And so Texas has that reputation, but last week was a black eye on the state of Texas. And we have to take very positive steps and make sure that not just our constituency in the state, you and I, the taxpayers and the ratepayers, but also people around the rest of the nation and the rest of the world knows that Texas is not going to have a repeat of last week. Does that mean that at some point in time, we might have rolling blackouts on an extreme event? Yes, it may. That may be a once in a decade, a once in a lifetime event. However, that doesn't mean people are going to go without power for days, or then have water treatment facilities have to go down. And so therefore water pressure, boiling notices, all these ripple effects that don't need to occur again. So I just wanted to address that issue, is that is one stain, but it's a stain we can remove. We can, get out our shout bottle and spray it on and get it out. But there's a lot of pain that went along, unfortunately, with this event, and we've got to do what we need to. And at least I think the legislature have started that process. So how about I'll stop there. We'll open it up for questions, comments, complaints here in the next few minutes. And I know everybody's got things to do, and I do have a hard stop at 8:30 because my wife is running some board meetings right now, and I've got 2 kids that are my twins, my 6th graders. They got to get to school, and guess whose job it is? It's Dad's. So I like y'all, but at 8:30, I'm taking 2 kiddos to school.
Well, Comptroller Hegar, thank you so much for being here. So we appreciate your flexibility. Last Tuesday with those connectivity issues might have been tricky to have that. I've gotten a couple questions, and I'll start off with this one. You mentioned, what happened last week, and we talked about with the pandemic. Will the legislation need to tap into the rainy day fund? I mean, do you feel like that's going to be something that needs to take place?
Yeah, great question. The fact is we're blessed in Texas. Our economic stabilization fund, or rainy day fund, or also our state savings account, has about $10 billion in it, which is a very large sum compared to most states. Money goes into that account based on oil and gas severance tax collections. And so therefore, prior to getting let's say the middle of last summer, I would have assumed the legislature would have had to use part of that fund in order to smooth out some of the roughness of decrease in revenues to ensure you're providing public education and other services. However, because the economy's performed better, we had the online sales tax money that we were not collecting before. And then thirdly, there's a significant amount of money that has come in the different COVID packages from the federal government. It appears as though the current budget that the legislature has proposed in the House and the Senate works. without using the economic stabilization fund. But with that being said, will they use part of that money to address something with the electric grid or winterization, much like we've done in the past with water infrastructure funding and or the other one-time uses? That question is yet to be known as they're working through this process. If they don't use any money out of it, we think that if we have this conversation in 2 years from now, let's hope it's in person, but if we have this conversation in 2 years from now, then we'd have about $11.5 billion in that fund. So it's going to continue to grow is my point. And so they may or may not, I think they don't have to use it for normal budgeting purposes, but they may use something for a one-time type expense.
Okay. Real specific question, given the extension for IRS filings to June 15th, will the franchise tax filing also be extended?
Yes, we sent a press release out. Not that I expect everybody to get our press releases and our notifications, but we sent that out. I think it was 2 days ago that's been extended to June 15th as well.
Wonderful. From the real estate market, what are you, with all y'all's projections, what are some of the impacts you're seeing in the real estate markets? Any big difference between residential and commercial?
Substantially in part in those two. Residential, if any of y'all have either wanted to sell a house or bought a house or just look at the market was tight. Typically Texas has seen valuations increase because when you grow 1,000 people a day, half of that's natural growth, half of that is people moving here from the other 49 states and around the world, that pressurization of demand. However, because of COVID, when builders were not building houses, people continued to move, people continued to come to Texas. The housing supply in Texas is extremely, extremely tight. I mean, literally in some places, it's just a few weeks worth of supply out there. And so as a result, the pressurization in residential is very high. Commercial, we don't think will significantly increase, but it won't decrease either, such as I mentioned earlier, kind of in cities like New York, LA, Chicago, where there are people that are kind of moving out of the downtown areas, and there's not the same demand of have people to come into the downtown areas before with teleworking in whatever that new combination is going to be. However, the one that I do have a little concern with is the retail space. And I'll use say for example, movie theaters, the box offices as an example. If I could see and I show of hands, how many people have gone to movie theaters lately? And I guess there wouldn't be a whole lot of hands, a few, but not many. Normally they'll make about 250 to 300 million a week, but right now I think it's only about $30 million. And so therefore there are few people going. And the question is that going to be redefined? And that's one of the big anchors for a lot of retail space. And so, retail is not going to collapse. That's not my point, but is it going to substantially continue to grow as we're redefining what that use is, as well as the online purchases that we're making in retail purchases?
Couple more minutes. I saw that one person came in, they said, school districts across the board have had financial impacts by the pandemic. Is there any plans to help the school districts recover with that? Anything that you want to comment, school districts?
Yeah. Well, first I want to say that, literally my hat, I'm not wearing it, but you get my point. It's a figure of speech. My hat's off to the school districts, because if you look around the nation, so many kids, they haven't gone back to school yet in other states. This state, the school districts, really think about trying to put in procedures and processes and not having the stuff from the CDC and the state, just trying to, what do we need to do? And at least for us, my kids have been in school since they're right after Labor Day. And yeah, there's been a case here and there, but it has worked. And so really I applaud them for all they've done to make this work. And so yes, the legislature wanted to make sure school finance promises of last session were kept. There are monies that will probably be utilized and set aside to help school districts in the cost. But as the legislature is working through the budget process, they'll get into the weeds of all of that here in the upcoming weeks as they're getting down to each agency's actual budgets and how those dollars will be sent out.
And one thing you mentioned early on, and that maybe be the last question, is you mentioned COVID vaccines across the state. You mentioned it across the country, across the world. With these projections, everything, we were talking about that before you came on, people going to Colleen for COVID vaccines. How important is the COVID vaccinations to economic recovery? What is your office thoughts on that?
I think first and foremost, if you look at all industry sectors that are important to the recovery, all are important, but the most important one is who? You and I, the consumer. And so therefore, that's the reason I mentioned several times consumer confidence. And one of the ways to get that consumer confidence up is to make sure that we successfully get a handle on COVID. And part of that strategy is getting to that so-called herd herd immunity. And that one of the ways fastest to get there is through a successful vaccine rollout. And so, people say, well, Glenn, have you had your vaccine? Well, actually, part no, because I don't meet the qualifications. And yeah, maybe a statewide, but I'm not jumping ahead of nobody else. There's a lot of frail and elderly. We need to tend into those that are most vulnerable first, those frontline workers that are in the hospitals, that are in law enforcement. And so, trying to make sure that we do very strategically to get all those people tended to first and then open it up. That's a real important piece of making sure the economy continues to thrive and move at a quicker pace. I'll mention real quick, it's not a question, but I'm gonna throw it in there real quick. I say it in every speech. I see we got a few seconds left. Go to claimittexas.org. Again, that's claimittexas.org. We have what's called unclaimed property that's yours. Businesses can't find you. Could be a wide range of areas. Go to claimittexas.org. Those of you that live in Williamson County, we have about $44 million in unclaimed property. So you can do a search for your name, you can do a search for the business, you can do a search for your friends, your family, and we return back to the Texas taxpayers their unclaimed property every year of about $300 million. And so no, not one of you is going to be the lucky winner of $44 million. This is not like the lottery. Sorry. I see Ann looking kind of sad face there. No, sorry. But fact is this is a lot of people. There's about 675,000 properties. Some of you may have one, some may have two, but the fact is I'd highly encourage you. And then also get in the habit of doing a calendar entry every so many years, because you go, oh, well, I got it all. I'm one and done. Well, there could be money that comes in after you've looked as businesses continue to turn that over. They try to look for you, they can't find you, then they send it to the controller's office. So claimittexas.org, keep that on your calendar entry for every year or two to relook again.
I put it in the chat.
Sorry, I gotta go. I got 2 kids that can't be late for school. Dad's on duty now. I'm gonna take my controller hat off and put my dad hat on. Look forward to being back in Georgetown hopefully soon.
Thank you so much, Controller Hegar. Thank you for coming back. Look forward to seeing you again in person. Have a good one.
You too.
Bring back our good friends. There's Anthony. Anthony, the floor is yours. I'm going to bring Nick into the group too.
Well, I'm going to turn it over to Nick. Nick, go ahead.
Sure. We have quite a bit of time left. Attendee introductions. How many people do we have here? 30-ish. Do we want to go around and do a 15-second name and company?
Yeah, and I think Nick, Allison's going to help you out with calling out names, and she'll call a couple out at a time for your chance to say name, company a little bit more, okay?
Yeah. All right, let's get started. We'll do Ann, then Byron, then Diana.
Morning, Ann Kaiser, ambassador with the Chamber, 3rd year, and this year I'm representing City Post Chop House that is remodeling the old post office downtown on the square, opening this spring. And they are taking reservations now for their event center upstairs.
Hello, this is Brian Tucker from American Incentive Advisors. We help small businesses get back R&D tax credits. This is my first breakfast links, one of many, and I look forward to meeting some of you in person at some point. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Diana Gonzalez. I work with PEC. I work with Jared Fields. Y'all know Jared, and glad to be on. Thanks.
We have Evelyn, Gary, and George.
Good morning again, everyone. I won't take up a lot of time. I'll just kind of give it back. Insperity Human Resource Consulting for small to medium-sized businesses. Thank you.
Morning, everyone. Gary Brown, CPA, Gary R. Brown, CPA, LLC. And we can help you with any of your tax needs, including the new extension. And a quick plug, a lot of people aren't aware that some of the credits that were out there last year are now available courtesy of the new act, December 27th. So if you had a PPP loan and couldn't get one of the credit, you can now.
Good morning, George Laurie with the Federal Savings Bank for all your mortgage needs. Remember, let George do it. George from Georgetown. I'm so glad to see y'all again. Everybody survived last week.
Then we have Isaac, Jeff, and Jerome.
Morning, Isaac Baruman. I am an ambassador. Farmers Insurance. I have an agency just outside Sun City handling all things insurance for you, except for medical.
Good morning and happy Friday. I'm Jeff Sigismund and running for Place 7 on the Georgetown School District.
Jerome? Maybe not. Okay.
Jerome, we can't hear you, Jerome. We'll give you a second.
Jerome, can you hear me now?
We can.
Thank you. Eagles Wings Home Improvement Services, handyman, home repair, remodeling, and I can't stay on too much longer. I've got some ceilings to go patch. Peace, y'all.
We have Josh, Kent, and Lakisa.
Hi, Josh Crawford with Garver. We are an architect engineering firm. We have about 34 offices nationwide and one of them here in Georgetown. We specialize in municipal infrastructure improvements, aviation, water, wastewater, transportation being some of our big projects. And happy to be here, first breakfast links. So thanks for having me.
And I'm Ken Cummins with Magic Hotline. And I also represent the National Speakers Association. I'm here with Margot, my live-in bookkeeper, and we are proud grandparents to the Sweet Lemon, City Post, and Santosha Solutions.
There you go, Kent. You got all three this time. I'm proud of you.
Good morning. I'm Lakisa Bright. I am with Ladders for Leaders, which is a nonprofit organization that provides internships to Williamson County High School students. So if you're a business who could utilize an intern this summer, reach out to us. We have 120 kids who have applied to our program, and we're looking for a house for them for this summer.
Awesome. Then we have Lauren and Ron.
Hi there, I'm Lauren Lewis, and we actually just joined the chamber this week. I'm with Imagine Away, and we are a nonprofit serving the autism community here in Central Texas, providing financial support and resources to children with autism specifically.
And I'm Ron Garland, and captain one of the ambassador teams for the ambassadors of the chamber. But today I'm also representing the Georgetown Mobility Coalition, which is a group that's advocating for our road bond election on May the 1st. Please pay attention to information that comes out about the improvements of our roads and our sidewalks in a way of safety, commerce, and convenience, and vote on May 1st. Thank you.
Rita Healy's on the call. She doesn't have her camera or mic on. She's with the Sheraton Austin Georgetown Convention
Hotel and Conference Center. That, you know, with Bricks and I'll be Rita with Bricks and L. Go to their. If you haven't liked their face, I'm going to say if you haven't liked their Facebook page, go at least like the Bricks and L. It has some great pictures of an amazing burger. I think I like a lot of those. So there's the Sheraton Austin Georgetown Hotel and Conference Center plug for you guys today.
Also, where we're having our bridal show in April. Sheridan has a beautiful ballroom area where we're able to host that event. Let's have staff. Did we miss any members? Anybody? Okay, we'll do staff real quick. Kayleen, Linda, Z.
Hi, my name is Kayleen Sellen. I'm the Events and Engagement Coordinator here at the Chamber, and also want to introduce our intern.
Hi, my name is Caroline. I'm a junior at Southwestern and the intern for the spring here at the Chamber. Linda, Dana, Z.
Yes, information specialist, and I just wanted to remind everybody that our new 2021 directories and maps are here. If you need to come pick your maps up, please come by and get them. You're really going to enjoy these.
Hi, I'm Dana Sanders. I'm your business manager here at the Chamber.
I'm Zelenda Richards, your membership manager and keeper of our amazing ambassadors with the Georgetown team.
Okay, I'm Allison McKee. I'm the programs director. We have our awards event coming up on March 3rd. If you haven't signed up for that, make sure you do. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's virtual this year, which is a little bit different, but you can watch it, the live version for $10, or you can have breakfast for 2 people for $40. We're cutting off breakfast orders soon, so get your reservation in. Jim, what announcements do you have?
Well, Allison, thank you so much. I want to thank Nick and Anthony for hosting today's event. little bit of background, and I want to thank members of our Create Member Value Committee, which is made up of the host of these programs. Back in January, when we were looking at speakers to bring in, we realized that more likely in February, we were still going to be virtual, and to be able to tap into our state controller, Glenn Hegar, for a virtual program on a breakfast links is something that normally we wouldn't be able to do because of the morning time. And so we were thrilled to bring him in. For those who have heard him speak in Georgetown before, he was our Cornerstone 2019 keynote speaker. So great information that he was able to do. As we introduced Caroline Black, we have 3 great interns here this spring semester. If your company, it's another opportunity, as Lakissa does with Ladders for Leaders. Guys, if you're looking to help the next generation, whether in high school, through programs like Lakissa does, or through the Southwestern intern program, I would encourage you to reach out to those people and tap into. The Chamber is honored to welcome interns every semester and help them grow so that we can showcase Georgetown and our community a little bit better. No, I think I'm just excited that you guys were able to join us. I'm glad to hear from most of y'all are still here. Remember, these programs are recorded, so you eventually will get the virtual recording of these from Allison. So it's interesting with these programmings. We've had members that sign up, they pay their $5, but they just want the recording. But you guys still get this live networking that comes with it. So thank you for being here. For those who don't know, the Chamber programming is based on the Williamson County Cities and Health District color-coded chart. If we return to orange, we will return to our hybrid program. So we will continue to monitor that for you guys. So be on the lookout for information. I will share those. For those who aren't comfortable yet returning in person, don't worry. The Chamber has every intention of continuing our live, a virtual component of the majority of our live programming. So even if we open it back up in person and you're like, I don't want to come, guess what? We'll still have this virtual component because we realize the value that it is provide back to you guys on that end. So thank you. I'm going to turn this back over to Anthony and Nick, 2 of our great co-hosts. I told Nick at the beginning and Anthony, what a great, I mean, we had 4, actually technically all of our last 5 Breakfast Leaks hosts were all this programming. Lori Sapersky was on it earlier. We have Anthony and Nick who are hosting this year. Kent was a co-host with Anthony last year. Kent's first year he co-hosted with George. And before that, George co-hosted with Lori Sapersky. So it's great that our Breakfast Leaks hosts don't just do the program and leave us. They still like the program and still show up. So Anthony and Nick, thank you guys. I'm going to spotlight you 2 because you 2 just look way better than me today. And I will let you 2 co-spotlight this, okay?
We'd like to acknowledge the ambassadors here this morning. Probably can't go back around again, but if all the ambassadors want to wave and
Good job,
wonderful
Matt.
program. Jim, what do you think? Do we have time for a little more breakout, another breakout room, or?
I would think if members want to, they can, we can leave this open. Allison can set up another networking. If you need to get going, that's fine. But if you hang around and you want to go into another breakout room and do that, you are more than welcome. I think we could give it a second to see who leaves the meeting, and maybe we could just keep them all in one room too, and let them visit in here. That might be a good component. So if they're still on the call in the next 30 seconds, we're going to assume that they still want to network, and we'll let them just stay in here and have a good time. Okay, if that's okay with you, Nick and Anthony.
That works.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Jim.
Well, I went to claimittexas.org and I got nothing.
So true story, and if you would have had a moment, I would have told this. Years ago, I worked in the hospitality industry, and somebody in the office came across Claim It Texas, and this is probably 2009. We were all into it. We probably wasted a half day, everybody doing it. And then we found out other websites had it. So like Nevada, stuff like that. And the general manager of my hotel found that there was a stock buyout of when Hilton Worldwide used to have casinos. The casinos were sold out, and she uncovered like 40, 50, it was a substantial amount, $40,000, $50,000. And I found it for her. And she bought me 1 beer as a one lonely Michelob Ultra. I remember that vividly. 1 little beer for finding her like $40,000. So
That was all hers. Wow.
Yeah. And I mean, I personally, when it first came out, did it. Some of them you have to show a little bit of work on there, but it's not too difficult. And they put you a check and mail it in. So it's, I think as of right now, the chamber, last I looked a couple of weeks ago in preparation, I found a little bit of money like that Home Depot owes us, like $500. So we need to eventually submit that paperwork. So and every, here's my little claimittexas.org tip is if you've moved a lot in your life or moved different locations, it's because they try to mail it to that other address and it won't forward it on. So if you moved out of state and stuff like that, go look at it. If you lived in the same house 30 years like my dad, he'll never have it. There's the chances of him uncovering something are slim to doubt. But if you moved around a lot, like if you're Anthony and you were in the military, George, at one point when you were stationed for a couple of years in X state, go look at it. It might be there, but it's those refunds from electrical companies, all those areas that you'll uncover. It's kind of neat. So,
Hey, I just found a refund for my son.
hey, you have to tell them there's a finder's fee for that, George, so.
It's $38.11, so I'm not certain it's going to get much. But hey, it works,
That's right. There's a good case that I've got right now of a client that came in yesterday that his stepdad had died 15 years ago. His mom died 6 years ago. And all of a sudden they found $200-some thousand that from the state of Oklahoma of oil money that had been sent to his previous address in Houston. And so there is money out there. And yeah, this is one that was a total surprise for him because of a number of reasons. So it's out there and it can be from small to big funds.
It's a great story. Does he have to pay taxes on that, his income?
Yes, because it's royalties.
Ah, okay.
Oh my gosh, I'm on here.
Did you find something, Anthony?
Sushi.
Yeah, I owe $180.
Wait, what?
It's interesting when you start diving into it.
Uh-oh, quit looking, huh?
Like everybody's like, okay, I'm done networking. I'm sitting here.
I'm out here.
Googling everybody's name and see what I uncover. So
hey, it's better to pay that $180 now than to have it show up later as an issue.
Yeah.
It's a whole lot better to clean things up like that.
Let's see. Like right now, the chamber's got $500 from Home Depot. Apparently, La Quinta owes us 50, and that
wow.
That's 550. So it's interesting what you can uncover on this stuff. So
that's awesome.
Guys, I'm gonna hop off, but I'll let you guys keep visiting. Kent, I'll see you a little bit. Kent, I think Anthony, Nick, I might see you a little bit later today. So
yep, 9 o'clock. Huh?
See you at 9.
You guys, I'm hopping off as well. Happy Friday. Have a good weekend. Stay safe.
Goodbye.
Bye, Yolanda.
See y'all. Bye.
Bye, y'all.
Ambassadors,
Let's go ahead and
Thank
finish the meeting. It was
Thank
good to
you.
see everyone. Thank you guys. Y'all were great.
Everybody's running away.
Yeah, it's that kind of day.